I enlisted in February of 1941. They published a thing in the newspaper at the time that if you volunteered, you could choose your own branch of service. But if you got drafted, you put you where they wanted you. So I volunteered in February of 41 for the Air Corps, which at that time was Army Air Force. And it's only been in the last years it was just Air Force. It used to be Army Air Force. And I volunteered for the Army Air Force. But I'd had previous National Guard, and when they found that out, I got slapped right into the infantry, and within 90 days I was an instructor, drill instructor, in Fort Sam Houston, Texas, in 1941. March, I don't know the exact date,
Okay.
but that's where the 9th Infantry, Company H, 9th Infantry, 2nd Infantry Division, Fort Sam Houston, Texas.
Now, when you enlisted, did you know that there was a war coming?
We didn't know it, but I figured sooner or later we'd have to get into it. Not then for any other reason except that there was too much happening over there that would affect us.
Right.
I assumed we'd be in sooner or later, and by volunteering I could stay out of the ground force, out of the infantry.
Yeah, which you were put into.
Which I was put into.
Well, now, did you know that you'd be fighting Japan and Germany?
No, I didn't go to Japan. I went to Germany. We trained in Fort Sam Houston from 41 to 43. In 43, they moved us up to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. And in Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, they singled out 30 men, which would be a platoon, and we took special training, ranger training. And we have a certificate right here that shows I completed the training. Then we moved to Northern Ireland, put us in Northern Ireland, and we was there from 43 in September until sometime in June, like the 3rd, 4th, or 5th of June of 1944, when they moved us down to Swansea by the Sea in England, and then we loaded troop ships there and went across the Channel. We were down in the hold, a bunch of us down there shooting crap, and the 1st and I think the 29th Divisions had already impregnated the beaches at Omaha, and we got word that we were going to fill in on the morning of the 7th, only they pulled 8 of us out on the 6th and sent us in with the LCI to be contact men when the groups came in the morning. And there's a picture of us going up the hill, and that picture, way down you can see, is where that group starts, is where I was here, and there was another, I don't remember who he was, but there was another man over here that the LCIs came in on us, and then we went up the hill.
And you're in that picture?
That picture, from there on we got into the, so to speak, into the fight, into the battle.
So were you did you land on Omaha before D-Day?
No.
It was after. You were in the bunch after D-Day.
Yeah, D-Day was June the 6th. We went in on June the 6th, but we went in late in the afternoon.
Okay, after.
Yeah, and then on the morning of the 7th, the picture you have, that's reinforcements coming in, and we were told when we in the bivouac, in the critique they gave us before we got loaded aboard the ship, not to stop and help people. There are going to be guys wounded and want help. You got to keep moving.
So you couldn't even stop and help
No.
your fellow soldiers?
No.
Did you see any of those guys?
Sir?
Did you see any of those guys?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I walked past them, and what we did, a couple of us took our things out of our pack and gave them our pack. We were not supposed to do that either.
K rations?
No, every soldier has on his belt a Band-Aid pack.
Oh, okay.
It has sulfa and bandages in it,
Right,
and we gave them them. We were told not to.
right.
We did it anyhow.
Wow. Now earlier you were telling us how you spent 24 hours on the ship waiting.
Well, yeah, as I spoke earlier, you know, the original plan Eisenhower had was for June the 5th. And we loaded up in boats, and then it was canceled. And the assault troops circled out in the channel till the morning of the 6th. And then we all loaded into LCIs and went in. As you can see, the group coming up the hill. Now, the 1st Division and the 29th Division, I'm pretty sure, are the ones that assaulted the beach and established the beach head. And we were moving in to secure it.
Okay. Now, how long were you on the beach? Were you there for just a few hours or a
No,
couple days?
about a day. But
Right.
once the bulk of the troops got on shore, we moved quite rapidly because when the air guys are up in the air, we used to sit on the edge of holes and eat dinner, 'cause no problem, you know. Those guys did one heck of a job keeping them off our back, the Air Force. And they'd come down so we could almost see the numbers on the wing.
Wow.
They did a whale of a job. And there was certain guys were assigned if you saw an airship down and there were people in it to go get them. There was a certain group to do that.
Right, to go rescue them.
Yeah.
Downed airplanes.
Yeah.
Now, were you injured on Omaha Beach?
No, I was wounded further in on the 16th of June.
Where were you?
I don't really know the name of the town where we were.
But you
St.
were
Mary
fighting.
Glise, I think, or something like that, or St. Germain Dell, I'm not sure. But St. Mary Glise and St. Germain Dell were the two cities that the advancing troops ahead of us secured. And then we moved in and relieved them, and they went back and reorganized. And then they moved us on ahead. And then on the morning of the 16th, I was sent out on patrol, and we walked into a German patrol, and a couple of guys got killed, and I got wounded, and was shipped back to England on the 16th of June.
Now, did you go head to toe fighting or hand to hand?
Hand to hand?
combat?
No,
No.
no.
Did you ever run up against a German soldier?
Actually, no. The only time I saw him was over the sights of my rifle, or I really didn't have a rifle. I had a carbine. The rifle weighed I think about 16 pounds. Her carbine weighed a lot less,
Wow.
and was clip fed on the outside, where an M1 is clipped on the inside.
Okay.
The carbine I got from a soldier that had been hit, and he had the carbine. I just swapped him.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of guys did that.
Yeah.
Carbine was a lot easier to carry.
Right.
But the actually hand-to-hand combat was limited to our units. And actually, there was not any hand-to-hand,
Right. Okay.
although there were a lot of guys doing it.
Yeah. But you never had to
No.
go. Now, what was and I meant to ask you this earlier, but what was your rank and job with the?
I was a corporal. It was called intelligence and reconnaissance. I would have to make out overlays for machine gun emplacements, where to put machine guns. And I would come back and see what territory was in front and to get the best field of fire for a 30 caliber air cooled or water cooled machine gun. That was my job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you went and you learned that at boot camp? I mean, it sounds like you enlisted right before the war.
Yes, I enlisted. Was sent to Fort Sam Houston in Texas.
Wow.
They told us they advertised it, volunteer and choose your own branch. So the closest I got to my own branch was nowhere.
Now, were you aware of the significance of World War II, or was it just a war back then?
Well, no. All we knew is that we were at war with Germany, and at that time, I guess France. I'm not sure, but the occupied countries that Germany had was basically the main people we were after was the Germans,
Right.
because they had more or less conquered quite a few countries in Germany and Italy and down. And I was quite lucky not to have to be in the initial contest of all of them. We had our own ranger units. Each regiment had their own ranger battalion. There, in a regiment, there's headquarters, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalions, and they out of each company they took 3 men, which would give us 36 men, and that made up the special training for rangers.
Right.
We took combat training, and they rode us on trucks and took us to Okefenokee and dropped us off and told us to get back to the barracks. All we had was a compass, a pistol, and a half a canteen of water. And then later on in September of 1943, they shipped us up to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, and we took on ski training out in the Waters Meet, Michigan, learning to ski. Now me, I was skiing before I was 19 years old, before I was 12 years old. So unfortunately, I became an instructor. And if you want to know what's fun, it's take a bunch of guys from the South and teach them to ski.
You have fun with that?
I did. The biggest problem they had was turning. If you ever get a chance to get a pair of skis on and you're facing forward, turn around with the skis on.
Right. I don't think I could do that.
No, then we went way up into Waters Meet, Michigan, at a CCC camp. And one little story I love to tell is every Friday we go out on a ski hike. You had an overlay, and you had to fulfill your overlay. And if you filled it and got back before a certain time, you could leave that evening on your weekend pass, like Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. If not, you didn't get to go till Saturday noon. So Doherty and I, we got to good look at the map, and right behind our barracks where we were, there was a nice hill that came down. Real beautiful slope hill. So we figured it out on the map how to get to that hill and come down that hill right into the parade ground. The only problem was that nice little hill was a bent over fir tree. And we piled it into that tree with a ski going north, south, east, and west. We didn't get to go early, no.
Is there any story, or do you have any stories that you would consider a good memory of the war while you were over there?
VE Day.
What were you doing? Where were you?
VE Day, I was in the zone. I'd been sent out for the 3rd time. I didn't send me back on the 3rd time. What they used to, I was hoping to get ZI'd. They called it the Zone of the Interior. That meant back to the States. when I got sent back to Dijon, France. And
And put back into the war?
the war was still going on, yeah. But this was an Air Force air service group, 310th Service Group. And I and the guy out of the 1st Division, it's a big red one, were assigned to that outfit after being discharged from the hospital. And you would really think we were somebody when we got there. We got there late, missed breakfast. We got there around 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And the cook came and said, "Have you guys eaten?" No. Took us over to the mess hall, fixed us one heck of a breakfast, you know. And it's way past breakfast time. Then we got assigned to our barracks, and we got into the barracks, and a bunk was already made up. Normally they're all rolled up, and you would really think we were somebody the way those Air Force guys treated us.
Right.
Yeah, and of course we ate up, and then we went down to Dijon, France. And downtown they had a Red Cross, and we went down there and met some more guys from the 2nd Division, and 1st, and 3rd, and I forget the other one.
Any girls?
Huh?
Any girls?
No. Well, girls, yeah. Red Cross ladies, yeah. Yeah.
You have a story about that?
No.
Not that he's willing to share, right?
What about your worst memory? Is that something that you can talk about or that you want to talk about?
The worst?
I know there were probably many stories along those lines. But
Well,
there's something that just stands out.
One of the ones that wasn't very nice was one of the guys that I soldiered with in Fort Sam and Camp McCoy, and also in Northern Ireland, and we were pretty close. And he was on advanced lookout, like you ought to call it, scout in front of the troops. And we were going over to replace him to come back. Only when we got there, he wouldn't answer us. He was dead. He got shot right here.
I'm sorry, that had to have been hard.
Yeah, well, I think we could do is just roll him out of the hole, and then later on the grave people would come and pick him up. You take his weapon. If he had an M1 and a bayonet, you put the bayonet on, stuck it in the ground, and put his helmet on top of the rifle. And then the guy that would come and pick him up.
And send him back home?
I don't know. I left, when they just discharged me from the hospital, I say they sent me to Dijon, France, to the 310th Service Group. And from then on out until I got discharged, it was nothing but a holiday, for me anyhow.
Right.
And also, I wish I could think of the guy's name that was with me. I can't. No, I can't. And all the pictures I had and everything, I had a whole bunch of them that were, unfortunately, within the last year, thrown away.
Yeah. So, you know, I've read a lot of books on World War II, and I'm always reading about how soldiers kept in touch back home, letters from home. Did you? Did you receive letters from your mom and wife?
Yes, but we're not allowed to carry them off
In case you were...
into combat. It was not permitted to. You were not supposed to carry them in combat.
So you had to destroy them?
Well, the reason is we found out, I don't know whether this is fact or fiction, you understand? If you got captured or you got killed and they found a letter on you that had your name and address on it,
Right.
and they had all kinds of agents over here. That's what I don't know if that's fact or fiction, like I say, you know, but that's what we were told. So we carried no identification on us,
So you would read
only
it
our
and
dog
then
tags.
destroy.
Hmm?
You would read your letter and then destroy it?
Either that or leave it back in the headquarters.
Now, how did you receive those letters? By drop plane or?
No, they have a guy go back to the rear echelon and pick up the mail every 2 or 3 days.
Okay, so it was
Yeah.
like a postal service.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. did that help you? Did that give you hope to keep going? The connection?
Well, not exactly. You read a letter momentarily. Now, like, my firstborn was born while I was over there, and she was a breech birth. And the doctors in the in the GAA hospital, instead of being a natural birth, they pulled her out with forceps and squeezed her head and put a tumor at the back of the head down here. And they said she would live a week or 10 days, maybe. They said she'd never walk or talk. She walked and she talked. There wasn't no help from the military.
Right. Did you guys hear about other parts of the war going on, other battles, victories?
Oh yeah, every so often they'd give us a rundown of what's going on in Japan, and also what was going on in other parts of the area where we were not. Other divisions that's coming in, and other places where in Japan, like on Pearl Harbor and all that kind of jazz. We got the news pretty good. Pretty good.
Now, did you hear about the surrender in the Philippines?
Well, yeah, of course, I was out of it by that time. We heard about all of that. Sergeant Stripes was really great. You know, they done one. Those people on that did one whale of a job.
Right.
To the troops on line, yeah. And we always refer to the troops on line. That means on line in front of you is the enemy, behind you is your guys. Those guys on behind kept on line to pretty well informed and pretty good supplies. Now there was a shortage one time of ammunition. We don't know how. Somebody behind us did something, but now we got it. But
You guys didn't get the ammunition you needed?
well, we got it, yeah, but there was a little space of time that the artillery didn't have what they needed.
Right.
And that's what helped us. The artillery, when they would open fire, they'd make them stay in their holes. We had some of the best backup stuff anybody would ever want to have, you know.
Right.
And the Air Force people, some of those guys came down so they could read the numbers on their wing. Strafing.
Right.
Great, you know. Then they'd wave when they come by us.
When was the Philippine surrender? Are you talking about the time? When was that?
That was, oh gosh, I'm terrible with dates. It was May 6th of 42 or 43, I believe.
Yeah.
So you were already out of it?
No.
You were already out of it?
No, did you guys get wind of that at all? Did you hear about that when it happened?
About what? The atom bomb?
About the Philippines, like in 42 when they surrendered.
Oh yeah, we were still stateside.
Yeah, you hadn't gone over to Germany yet.
Because that was the very beginning.
Yeah. We didn't go overseas until 43, and then we went to Northern Ireland and trained in hedgerows.
Right.
See, those Krauts had themselves built in. They had like a little old campsite right inside the hedgerow. And the artillery used to just go right down the hedgerow, right? Boom, 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 blowing them out.
Wow. How do you feel about Japan and her people today?
I really have no feeling about them whatsoever. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know them that well. I don't follow the news that close about anything in regards to that. I figure if anything's going to happen, we'll know about it soon enough. So I don't make an effort to read or keep up on it or anything. I just.
Do you have do you feel an animosity towards them?
No.
Or I know you fought Germany. Do you have,
But you've got to understand that the German soldier, let's take American squad. Okay, there's a sergeant, a corporal, a PFC, and then 5 privates. The lowest man down here in American squad knows exactly what's going to happen for the sergeants up front. He knows what the score is and what's happening and what's going to happen. In Japanese Army, no. Only the head honcho knows what's going on. So you can take an American squad anywhere and they can function even if the head honchos are knocked out. The lowest corporal, the lowest private, or whatever, yard bird, whatever you want to call him,
Right.
he can run it.
Right.
But that's not the way it is in all the armies.
Like
that's-
Germany and
yeah.
Japan.
But that's the way it is in the American Army.
Have you kept in touch with your fellow soldiers over the years?
I did for a while. We had our own reunions, like that picture there. But they kept dying off, and just only down to 2 of us now. So
When was the last time you guys had a reunion?
can you remember? I can't either.
At least 5 years ago.
At least, or more. Yeah. But now I have to one of the guys there in the movie that lives in Norman. I went over and visited him one time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. But he was in the mortars. He wasn't in the machine guns. He was in the mortars.
Now, what is your opinion of World War II now? Was it a necessary war?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If not, you'd have seen the same kind of slaughter over here that they had over there.
You'd be speaking German.
Right.
Yeah.
I've always believed that. Do you
Mhm.
believe that?
Yes.
That
I
had we
believe it
lost-
heartily, yes.
So had we lost, we
Yeah.
would be speaking German now.
Because although a lot of people don't even think about it, but right now today, there are Nazi units in
Oh,
our country.
absolutely.
And they know where they are, and they try to keep a close watch on them. But a lot of the young people think it's great to have that kind of stuff going on. You have no idea what it's all about.
Right. They don't know the meaning
Right.
of what you guys fought for. Do you think that World War II has been forgotten?
No.
No.
No, it has not been forgotten, although there's been 5 wars since that. I think it's 5, I'm not sure of that. The World War I was fought to end all wars.
Right.
And then World War II popped up to end all wars. And all it does is they get new kind of weapons coming in, you know, weapons of destruction that if we'd have had the weapons today, then the war would have probably lasted 6 months.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Most of it is all, now this is probably I shouldn't say, but in my mind, and I'm not what you call, I'm only a high school educated individual, and my diploma I got through a GED because I had to quit school when my father died, and I got a GED diploma. But to me, what controls and starts war is politics.
Yeah.
That's what World War II was, politics.
On whose end? Everyone's?
Everybody.
Do you think the United States could have stopped it had they
No,
jumped in before it started?
no.
So you think we waited just
We had no army. We had nothing to speak with. We had to build an army.
right, and that's what we did?
Yeah. Yeah. Down at Fort Sam Houston, we went there in 1941, and the only people in there was people in the regular army, guys, and in a squad of, or in a barracks of, say, 72 men, there was maybe 36. That's all.
Now, did you have a lot of the higher rank officers were from World War I? Did you serve under any?
I don't believe so. I don't think Colonel there. No, he was a lawyer. He was not in World War One. And I don't remember or recall of anybody associating with that was in World War One. I may have, I don't know. I've remembered it. That's been 100 years ago.
Or it seems like 100
Yeah.
years ago. Did you get along with your corporals and your sergeants?
Oh yeah, yeah. We always, in every unit, no matter where you are, what you do, you're going to find some jerks. And every outfit has them. And once you find out who they are, most of us just avoided them,
Right.
stayed away, not to start anything. And we had a Choctaw Indian in our outfit. And I mean, he was one of the greatest guys you ever want to be around, and tougher than nails. I mean, he was scared of nothing. I don't know whether he got hit, killed, or what, but when I came back after my first wound, he was gone. I never knew what happened to him.
Oh, really?
But he was one heck of a guy. I mean, he was a great guy.
Yeah, so you guys got along.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he was someone that you definitely wanted to fight next to.
Oh, yeah.
Any interesting stories about him?
None that I can remember, no. He was the greatest patrol guy there ever was. I mean, he could go out and patrol and come back with. He was just good. Fantastic.
He took no prisoners.
Now, did you guys ever run across any, did you guys ever take any prisoners?
We never did personally, but some of them did, yeah. You see, on D-Day, and like let's say D plus 2 or 3, we got on the beach, and these Germans dressed soldiers kept running out of the pillboxes, hollering Pulaski, Pulaski, Pulaski. The hands in the air, Pulaski. He's a Polak, not a German.
He didn't want to be shot.
He didn't want to be shot.
Did it work?
Oh yeah, we didn't shoot him, because that's valuable information.
Right.
Every soldier, we were told in a critique or two that prisoners are the best first line of defense that you can have. Those that get, some of them will talk, some of them won't, but they get the information they want from them. But then when they come out, most of the young diehard Nazi German soldiers came out of the foxholes shooting, fighting. And the guys that came out they were taken prisoner.
Wow.
I very fortunately missed the bulk of the breakout of Omaha and Brittany Peninsula because I was in the hospital. And I was told later that when you're ready to be discharged, they contact your unit. Like, he was my company commander, and they'd say, well, Richards is ready to discharge. You want him back? And they'd say, yeah or no. And you could go back to your unit.
Right.
So the third time I went back, Higgins said no.
Why?
I'd had enough.
So you were wounded not
Twice.
just once?
Twice. Yeah, I got 2 purple hearts. They're so pretty.
And so Higgins said no. He felt that you had enough.
The second time, yeah.
Yeah, that he was afraid if you came back
Right.
you wouldn't.
Well, you are I'll be the first to admit it. I mean, I wasn't as gung-ho on come back the second time as I was the first time.
Sure.
I mean, I was ready to get back and do my job, what I was trained to do, but the second time I would care less if they didn't send me back,
Right.
which they didn't.
And that's when you went to France?
To Dijon, yeah.
Yeah, Dijon.
Mhm.
Well, and then how long were you there for? Before the end of
Well, I
March?
can't remember exactly, but I think I came home in September.
So a couple months.
Uh-huh.
And what was it like returning to the States? I'm assuming you came by boat? Or
Coming
ship?
back, oh yeah, yeah.
And what was it like when you returned? Did you enter back through San Francisco?
No, New York.
New York. What was that like?
It was great because we were back in the States.
Yeah, I bet there was a big party.
Yeah. Used to know the name of the place. Shanks, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not certain of that.
Where you had a party?
Where we came in.
Doc.
Yeah.
Now, was it hard for you to get back into everyday life, to get a job, to
Well,
live?
my, my wife, my wife told me one night I was trying to choke her.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I had to start sleeping on the floor.
Kicked you out of the bed.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but
Woke
that's
up
what
at
Gracie
night
said.
nurse.
Yeah.
How long? What did you do when you returned?
Well, they had what they called, I don't know, I'm going 5220, I think it was. You got $52 a month for 20 weeks or something that you could stay out. Didn't have to go back to work. But I wanted to go right back to work. I didn't want none of that 5220. And I was working in a Celanese factory.
What is that?
That search, like a search you got on, you know,
Oh, okay.
Celanese.
Yeah.
Not silk,
Oh.
but Celanese.
Right.
And it was called, we was called warp hangers. Big spool that goes behind the loom with all the thread on it, you know, where the shafts go up and down.
Right, right. So you worked in like
Yeah.
a factory.
Yeah, we put put those big spools in the back, hooked them up. And fortunately, my boss was a World War I veteran. And when I got back, I went up to visit him, and he said, "Your job's here. All you got to do is come to work." I said, "What about the guy that's working there now?" He said, "Well, you know, that's something." I said, "Well, let me have a couple of weeks." So I went and got another job instead of putting him out of a job.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, so.
that's respectful. Now, were you respected by?
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, we had. I had a couple of my buddies. Every Saturday night, we would go down to a certain pub, certain beer garden. Our wives and them, all guys that was in not in the same unit, but from the same town, friends before and after.
Right.
And we'd meet at this little place and get drunk on a skunk. And that lasted 2 years, and then I got up one morning, and my sister worked at a place called Hers, an ice cream place. And coffee was 5 cents a cup. And I went over for a cup of black coffee, and I didn't have a nickel. I spent it all on booze. That's it. I haven't drank since.
Wow. Since that
1948.
day. Wow.
Yeah. And then I used to smoke cigarettes too, and I was one of my son's football games. Coming out of the game, I started to light up, and he said, "Dad, you got to quit. They're not good for you." Threw him down, walked away from him,
Just like that.
just like that.
Because your son said that they weren't good for
Yeah.
you. Wow. Do you think that as much as America had to sacrifice, do you feel they were naive in what you had to experience, or was everyone fully aware of what World War II was and what you had to go through?
Well, if you look at the newsreels of the things that the fascists in Italy did and the Nazis did in Germany and the Japanese did in Japan, to the countries and people they conquered, and what they did to them would make it almost, yes, it was a necessity. And being as we are, as big as we are, and with the help of our allies, it was a thing that had to be done. The only thing that I had wish they had gotten was to have gotten Mussolini and Hitler and all those guys alive in jail.
Right, but they
Yeah.
chickened out.
Yeah.
Took the coward's way out.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? What do you think about the people that were here at home? Do you think they had a grasp and understanding of what you were going through?
Oh
Were
yeah.
they a little more naive about it? Kind of like maybe the people are now with the Afghan or the Iraq war, where we're here and not there, and so we're out of sight, out of mind.
No, that was so. The World War II is exactly what it was. World War. What's going on now is not worldwide. It's it's
Yeah.
it's centralized at certain places.
Sit around their radios.
Oh, yeah.
Right. See, here,
And people sacrificed here too. I mean, the women had to go and fill
Right.
the man's jobs
yeah,
so that you guys could keep fighting.
there was a little star on every window in the United States. You know,
Yeah.
for the service people. Yes, I do believe that what we did was necessary, uh, even with the sacrifice it cost us. Now, what I don't like is the way a lot of politicians uh, take advantage of the situation for their own personal gains. Nothing I can prove, only what I read.
Mm-hmm.
Like who is it? Will Rogers used to say, "I only know what I read in the paper."
Right. Yeah. Now, when you returned, like for instance, our John McCarty, Bataan Death March survivor that we've told you about, when he returned, he was sworn to secrecy by the United States government. He was not allowed to tell anyone what he experienced and what Japan did to him and his fellow soldiers. When you returned, because you fought in a different area of the war, and the United States didn't turn their back on you, were you able to come back and speak of your experiences?
Yeah, because see, we were not subjected to these things that the Japs, and of course the Nazis did it too to the American prisoners
Right.
that they had. But we were told, if you don't have to, don't talk about it. If you don't want to, you don't talk about it.
When you, did you talk about it, or has it taken you years
Well,
and
no.
decades to?
For about 15 years, I just soon not mention it.
Yeah.
You know,
And now
it doesn't bother me
it
anymore.
doesn't bother you.
No,
Well, thank you for talking to us because.
no problem.
I mean, if you don't talk about it, then 50 years from now, we're not gonna know.
But we often wonder, though, some of the guys that I've talked to that was there, even in Korea and places like that, they've often, as I do, I wonder, has it done us any good? Do we learn anything?
From World War
Yeah.
II or from other wars.
Right?
Do you think that it has?
No, because you see,
Yeah.
there are two powers in a person's life. Years and years ago, it used to be God, home, and family. Now it's money, money, money.
And yeah. So times have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you think your generation was the greatest?
I've been told it was.
I
But-
have been too. I've read that it is.
Not going to blow my own horn, but
Oh my God, really?
yeah.
Well, I for one have to say that I would have to agree that your generation
Yeah.
is the greatest.
Yeah, we had a job to do, and we weren't forced into it. 89% of the military was volunteer.
Right.
The other 11% was already in there.
Right.
So
Now, did you fight next to anyone that was drafted?
when I was, everybody was drafted.
Well, no, I mean, no, you volunteered.
Yeah.
But did you fight next to someone who received a letter in the mail saying they had to report for duty?
Well, I couldn't really answer the truth because they never discussed it.
Right.
Never talked about it, you know. The only thing we talked about was basic training and Camp Bullets. And we used to say, if you want to get even with the enemy, send them to Camp Bullets. Tick Haven.
Was that in Sam Houston?
Yes, that's down San Antonio.
And is that where you returned to when you came back? Is that where your wife and your family was?
No, when I came back, they were in Williamsport.
I'm sorry?
They were in my hometown, Williamsport,
Okay, where's that at?
Pennsylvania.
Okay,
Did you ever play Little League Baseball?
I did.
That's where it originated.
Okay.
In fact, I was one of helped play the first team in the old rubber company playground at the corner of
Wow.
Rose and Park Avenue.
You know, I can believe that. That is awesome.
Yeah. And then the big business took it over and made it what it is today. And we lived 2 blocks from the field where they play the World Series every year.
Yeah,
And George, my son, he played in them.
really.
Mhm.
That's neat. That is very cool.
Mhm. Yeah, we lived, Worksport where we lived, I could look out the window, and all during the summer, all I had to look at was the beautiful green mountainside.
Ugh.
In the wintertime, snow side.
Are there any memories or little tidbits about the war that you don't commonly read about in the history books that only somebody like you that was there to experience or tell about it could talk about?
Well, that's all you, because just recently, someone mentioned the fact that the civilians, how they treated us. In France, there was a saying that the English and French will fight to the last American dollar and the last American soldier. That's and they don't like to hear it, you know.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah, and anyhow, there was hardly any discussion in regards to what anybody said or did. All the guys that I know, like myself, will talk about it. Now, the Japanese, that's a different story. The people who fought in Japan, you know, was a lot worse than us who fought in Europe. Because we
They
had,
were fighting a different.
yes,
Different people.
yes. Although the loyalty of the German soldier was no different than the one of the Japs, you know, death before capture.
Oh,
Say,
absolutely. Well, now, did you guys fight? You know, I mean, we were over there in their country, so there's farms and towns and homes. Did you fight in someone's front yard?
oh yeah, you might enjoy this story. We had moved forward. We was in a holding position, and if you want to eat something good, eat some GI scrambled eggs. They bring them to you in a big old pan, you know. Part of them scrambled and part of them not. And where we were bivouacked, about maybe a half a mile was a farm. And we had this Cajun from New Louisiana who could speak French.
Yeah.
And we went down to the farmhouse. And then I pointed to the chicken and I asked the lady, have any eggs? And her was como, which means what? You know? I said, you have any eggs? She says, como. I picked the chicken up and pointed to them. I said, eggs. Eggs. She gave us about half a dozen of eggs. And we went back and had fried eggs, not scrambled, fried.
Now, were they frightened?
No. Mm-mm. No. And a lot of this stuff you see about American soldiers raping, a lot of that was propaganda put out by the German people.
Right.
No. There was some, because there's always some,
Oh, sure.
but not in the sources.
Nothing like what
Was printed, yeah.
Right.
No. It's it's been a long, long time. There's a lot of things I have forgotten. A lot of things I want to forget. But I don't mind any more talking about it. But 20 years ago or more, so if you want to talk to about it, I'd say see the guy next door. But it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Everything to go through.
Oh yeah. That's why we're very appreciative that you're sharing this with
Yeah.
us.
And I was a lot luckier than a lot of guys. My combat was not so much hand-to-hand as it was. Some guys were hand-to-hand combat. We were quite fortunate, quite lucky. Our unit was used 2 or 3 times for special to get special information about terrain and territory.
Right. Now, have you been back since?
Yes, twice, but I never got to go to Omaha Beach.
You didn't.
No. Excuse me.
Assholes.
Thank you. That was in charge of it. He went in on Utah Beach, and we went to Utah.
Oh.
Utah was a walk-on for the first mile and a half or so, and then Omaha, we fought our way.
Right, from the water.
Right, yeah. right from the water all the way up. We lost a lot of men on those things they had in the water because they were mined
Oh, right.
with personnel mined. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were. I don't know what you call them. They were cement things put in. They were
Yeah,
about this wide at the bottom and tapered up, and then on the side of it would be a mine. Personal. I don't know what they call it anymore, but personal mine.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
so someone would get pushed into it from the wave
Yeah.
and walk into it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, a couple of weeks ago when I was asking you about your time over in Ireland, and I was giving you a hard time about the women over there, you said, of course, you didn't because you were married, but there was another reason. Do you remember that?
Mm-mm.
That what the Germans were sending over the women?
Oh yeah,
Tell me about that.
diseased women. Yeah, yeah,
Would send
yeah,
them down your way.
yeah.
What would they do now?
They would come in and want to have sex with GIs, and they'd have gonorrhea or syphilis or something like that.
And a lot of the men would take them
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
Now, did you manage in your own career throughout the Army, did you manage to stay out of trouble?
Absolutely.
except for a few fights.
Except what?
A few fights.
Oh yeah.
No, that's what I mean. I don't mean with women. I mean just in trouble in general.
Yeah, I got into a couple of times with
How many times?
couple,
How many's a couple?
3.
Several dozen.
The worst one is in a pub over in I think it was in Swansea. I don't remember exactly where it was at anymore, the city. But I did not have a squad to take care of. And like most of my buddies were sergeants, and they had, before they could go on pass, they had to make sure everybody in their squad had to know what to do for the weekend, so on and so forth. And there was an early and a late train. I always got the early train. And we met at this one pub in Portadown. And I was standing there, was talking, and this Englishman come up, and they always say, "Hi, Yank." Yeah, how you doing? Fine and dandy. He asked me a question, and I gave him the wrong answer. Next thing I knew, I'm on the floor, out.
didn't even see it coming.
No, didn't even expect it.
Did you get up and catch him?
No, couldn't. He left. But 5 weeks later,
You got him.
there was 2 other guys with me. The 3 of us, one of us went in there every weekend, looking for him. And we found him. And over there, they have a place out back where they deliver their booze and stuff. And he came in, and these 2 guys got a hold of him and escorted him out back. Yank, I'm sorry, Yank, I'm sorry, Yank. Sorry, my
Go ahead and say it.
butt. We had it out.
Who won?
He did. I had to pay $300 and some odd hospital bill for him.
So he reported you?
Yeah, but it was worth it, wasn't it?
Yes,
So you do it again.
yes.
Now, can you imagining 20 years from now, somebody watching this when you're 113? Can you think of anything to say or any thoughts to give somebody about the war that come to your mind that you really want somebody to know? That they're not going to be able to just pick up a book and read about it 50 years from now. What could you say to somebody there that it's important that you younger people know this?
What the younger people should realize and try to think about is the fact that had that war not been fought, you'd have been Heil Hitler all the time over here, and your life would not have been your own. You would have been controlled on everything you said or did or wanted to do. And the guys, the heroes, are not here. Like me, I'm not a hero, I'm here. The heroes are still over there with a cross in front of them. Those are the ones that paid the price. Those are the ones that made it possible for us to do what we did. Not us. Not us who are walking around.
Do you, from what you see and know about life today, or just in the past 30 or 40 years,
not as strong, because I am strictly anti-political, anti-politician, because of the back in the 20s and 30s, the politicians, you could take every one of them and screw them right into the ground. You know, they were that crooked. How they are today, I don't know.
They're crooked, but they cover it up.
Yeah, they've learned from
You know,
previous politicians.
if you want to get rich, be a politician. And we have some good ones, you know. Kennedy, he was a good one. Eisenhower was a good one.
But that one we got now really is,
Well, he spends more time out of his office than he does in it.
he's a joke. But that's the first black president we've ever had.
Yeah, but it shows one thing to the world. We're not prejudiced.
Did
You gotta
ever think
remember
you'd
that.
See the day?
Huh?
No,
Did you ever think you'd see a day where we have
No.
a black president?
No. No.
he's not totally 100% black, though. His wife is.
Yeah.
He talks a good game, but he doesn't do squat.
Yeah, it's almost as though he's too scared to make that call.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one other question we've been trying to figure out the right way to, I guess, think about asking, because it's such a simple thought, but I guess it's a complex question. It's kind of in terms of when you came home. You know, we talked a little bit about this at lunch a couple of weeks ago, but back then life was a much simpler type of life, and it was very plain and simple, and really a nice, friendly, all about kind of country. And when you came home from what you saw and lived for so many years, you came right back into this kind of leave it to beaver kind of all's good society and all's loving, caring, good, but you lived through this hell. Did you find it difficult to be in such a kind of pure or innocent country?
You mean to readjust or something?
After you lived
Yeah,
through
but-
what you lived through?
Yeah, did you have a hard time getting back into society?
Not, I wouldn't say a hard time. And what made it easy is that some of the guys I grew up with in my hometown, you know, we were all in the service, not in the same unit, in different, but we would still get together on a weekend, Saturday night. And then I started riding motorcycles. And we bought some land on a little town and put in a hill climb, a drag strip, and a TT course. And we advertised in a paper, and it's a bunch of guys out of I think it was Philadelphia, I'm not sure. Someone told them about our unit in there. And then we had Veterans Day, World War II Veterans Day. And we got swamped with the guys coming in, you know, with their bikes. They're coming for spectators and everything like that. Now, what it comes back to what you said, see, readjusting to civilian life, that was part of it. Do you follow me?
Yeah, I think so. Kind of getting back with people that have been through it.
Yes.
Because I guess the simplest way I'm kind of thinking about it is, back in that day and time, sometimes maybe the toughest decision somebody had to make was who was going to go get more lemonade to sit on the porch with,
Yeah.
or what was the movie down at the theater you were going to walk down and see. But you came back from a place where almost every moment depended on life and death, what you did and how you went about it. And I just can't. That's such a contrast to come back to.
So you're coming back to a different way of life entirely. But one thing you got to understand is they didn't send us. The war was over on June or May, somewhere whenever it was over. A week later we were home. It wasn't that way. 3 months later we were home. We adjusting, you know, to the.
Okay.
So they didn't throw you right back.
No.
They
Gradually,
over there
yeah.
and kind of helped you
Right.
get back into it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, especially the troops that were in the combat.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the Air Force, the guys who were in the bombers and the fighters and stuff like that, you know, that was actually had the experience of being up there, being shot at and all that jazz. See? And I to this day say, a lot of guys don't agree with me, but to this day I say that the Air Force is the reason we won the war because, I mean, they did a fantastic job. I mean, we had these panels that we used to lay out on the ground showing where our lines were and where the enemy lines were. And one time, the enemy line it changed and we moved forward, and the guys on the panels didn't get them changed right away in time. They got them changed before there was there wasn't much damage done, but had they been left there, we were getting strafed by our own planes because they were going by the panels, you know, those on the ground.
I got you.
Oh, right,
Right.
right.
It wasn't their fault. But that Air Force, I mean, they made those Krauts keep their heads down.
No, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Air Force won the war in Europe, but I think the Marines won it in the Pacific.
Mm. The what?
I think the Marines won it in the
The what?
Pacific.
The what?
Marines.
Won the war in the Pacific.
Who?
Oh, shit. Shut
He's
up.
being
Mhm,
funny.
I think so too.
Look at him.
So, would you disagree with that?
No, that was their war.
Yeah,
That's what they were trained for.
the Pacific.
But you got to give the Air Force a whole lot of
Oh,
credit.
absolutely, I agree with that.
Now, the thing I hated was cleaning out a town,
I'm sorry?
cleaning up a town.
After you.
Yeah, snipers, kids,
Little kids.
little kids. They were able to fire a rifle.
And you had to shoot them?
I don't shoot anybody, but some of them were shot.
Yeah.
But walking in and cleaning out a town is a
Something you don't want to think
Yeah.
about.
So did you help in the rebuilding of?
no,
Central?
just cleaning the
Cleaning
carts
it.
out. Then we moved on to the next
Right.
phase. Then the engineers, the other echelon troops in the back moved in and took over.
Yeah, and rebuild.
Yeah.
To rebuild.
Yeah, a guy wrote in the paper one time. I read it. Well, we went over to Europe, blew it all up, then went back and rebuilt it.